protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's time for Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
You have to have a plan where you know if the market's going to go up, what happens next. And you also have to have a plan where if it doesn't go the way you think, you know what you're going to do.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
I'm not trying to predict the weather, which is kind of what we're talking about, right? It's predicting the stock market. I'm trying to build a better boat.
This is Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
Welcome to Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn. It's powered by the Hoffman Financial Group. Each week, we're bringing you new episodes, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Just search for Money Unleashed. Let's jump into the show. I want to talk about something that's a little bit concerning to me. Americans don't feel like they're rich enough or have done a good enough job, even as this market's boomed over the last couple of years. That's crazy to me. Why do we feel this way?
So we found an article. According to a new report by Allyn Financial Engines, only 12% of Americans consider themselves wealthy. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Despite their high net worth, just 33% of millionaires classified themselves as wealthy. So let me ask you a question. Where would you say, after all these years of doing this, you look at someone and you go, wealthy?
Me personally, I think if you've got 2 million, you're part of the 2 comma club with a 2 in front of the first comma, you got the game won. You can do a lot of great things with that type of number.
So you would argue someone with just $1 million is not there?
Well, I think $1 million is a great thing to shoot at, and everybody should try to get there. Now, some people have the ability to, some people don't. Now, I guess also, if you're going to be asking me that question, there's going to be the premise of, well, what's your spending, right?
Yeah.
What's your lifestyle look like? Because
and where do you live?
I know people with $750,000, and they've got very reasonable spending habits, and they've got their house paid for, and they don't have any debt, and they're living very wealthy, right? So,
think about where we came from, right? I came from a small town. If you had $700,000, you're probably getting it done. You came from South Florida.
South Florida,
$2 million probably didn't get it done.
Yeah, $2 million. Yeah, well, you still have work to do. So I did come from South Florida, so it was a little bit different than coming from South Georgia. But yeah, man, wealthy is a subjective term. And now I would say if we're using a blanket number, I'm saying, hey, you got 2, you can do some wonderful things with that number. But it also is going to depend on, what your outflows are, what you're used to. And oftentimes, when people come in here, they've already got their lifestyle basically put in place. Now, our goal is to take their money and help them elevate that lifestyle. So, for instance, if you're going to Longhorn for a steak, awesome. Time to go make a reservation for chaps. All right, if you're hopping on a plane, let's sit up front. Things like that. But it boggles my mind after we've had, 2 years where the S&P 500 has gone up 20+%. People don't feel like they've done a good enough job. So I'm not sure if that's saving. I'm not sure if that's investing. I imagine it's because we're in a portfolio we haven't done anything to, and we've watched it kind of oscillate down, but it hasn't rebounded back up because that's what I'm seeing on a daily basis. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I think emotions just mess with us, right? It doesn't matter how many times I tell you you're good. You still feel a certain way. I mean, I think part of the power of having a financial advisor is the repetition of the discussion, right? So we talk often about how we meet quarterly with clients.
Yep.
And I've got certain clients that they've been with me for a long, long time, and they come in, they sit down, and they ask 3 questions. What's my performance? What's my fee? And am I okay? And it just takes time to really buy into the emotional construct that you're not going to run out of money. Because after all these years and all these things and all the days and nights and weekends and the children and the mortgage and the homes, I mean, it's pounding on you. I think you and I forget, or at least I know I do sometimes, how hard it is for someone who doesn't understand the concepts and constructs of the market and of financial planning, because they're not based in logic, they're based in emotion. And so I get it, man. There's nothing more terrifying than working your whole life and then waking up every day and staring at this thing called the stock market because you think it's going to get you.
It's funny you say that because I actually just had a client, and we had a meeting probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And for whatever reason, the gentleman in this couple was sending me a lot of emails. And they said, "Oh, Eric, we're going to work till August." And I'm like, okay, well, that's a good target. Let's shoot for August. We have a whole another 8 or 9 months to go hit the ball before we got to convert to an income plan. And then I got a couple of emails from this couple, and it didn't seem like they were really interested in that. They want to kind of understand the income piece. And I called them up because I had a few extra minutes, and I was just like, hey, out of curiosity, the questions that you're asking me on these emails, they don't really line up with what we talked about. Is everything okay? And, the lady, we'll call her Sandy. She's like, Eric, I know we said August, but I don't know if I can make it that long. I was like, ooh, that's not good.
She wants to go now.
I was like, so talk to me about this. I'm like, do we need to get you retired next week? And she goes, no. There's some surgeries I want to get done, and I want to get it done on my company's healthcare, which makes sense, right? Because you want to get that stuff buttoned up before you have to. It's all on you, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, what are we looking at here? She goes, well, I want to get my surgeries done in March. I'm like, awesome. I was like, March and April is a heck of a lot different than August. So we had to get together, and I promised him I'm going to put together a plan for you that now it's going to incorporate transitioning your portfolio from growth, which we've had for the past 6 years, to income generation and pulling the money out. And you know what? The funny thing is, Kyle, everything all said and done, they had about $3 million. And there was like 500 I didn't even know about. And I'm like, man, you got $2.5 million. You guys are going to be just fine, I promise. They had very reasonable spending habits. I'm like, oh, yeah, we also didn't tell you about the 500,000 we had CDs as well, too. I was like, wait a minute, you got another $500,000? What is going on right now? We should have gotten you retired 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? So even if you have a solid portfolio or it looks like a shiny new car and you've got a great number that you can be proud of, people are still going to feel as if they don't have enough money to spend.
And I don't think they really understand the compound that's going to happen in retirement. You talk about this often. And so when they look at their money, they say, oh, I've got $1 million. Let me just kind of subtract that out. Let me look at the distribution coming over a period of time. It's not going to make it, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4. And then I've even bumped into people who their financial advisor tried to do that. I mean, you're still going to make money in retirement. And I have a lot of people that we're sending income to them, and they're still generating 6, 7, 8, 9% annual return. And so you talk about it all the time. Let's make money on top of the income check. So if you're just looking at your money and you're thinking, I've got 25 years or 30 years left before I leave this planet, so let me subtract out what I think I need and let me see if it makes it. Don't forget about the growth. Don't forget the power of compounding even after the paycheck stops.
Yes, you could still set up your income plan and also have a growth plan. And if you set it up properly, you can actually do it where your portfolio is operating like a Sherman tank. That's what I like to call it. Like, it's so safe that you don't have to worry about the green days or the red days. You're out there having fun. You're spoiling grandkids, traveling around the world, getting those experiences in before you don't feel like doing them any longer. And also, another thing that I think helps people with this emotion, or I shouldn't say help people, but actually kind of intensifies their fears. They walk in, Kyle, and they think, hey, this is now a race to zero. I'm not working anymore, which means I have no more income coming in. And they think, okay, guys, this is not how it works. You don't stop working, all of a sudden, boom, your portfolio turns to cash and you are just draining it down to oblivion. If you set a proper retirement plan up where your income is taken care of on a monthly basis and you have leftover money to still grow, you can actually grow your retirement, take your income, skim the yield off the top, and retain your principal. You can have your cake and eat it too. But if you're using the typical Wall Street model of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, it's going to seem virtually impossible, right?
That's right. And then that's not even looking at taxes. We're not even disguised this discussion inside of the tax part, which is, okay, do you have an IRA? Do you have a brokerage account? Do you have a Roth account? Like, what are the tax structures of the account? So I think one of the things that we really take a lot of pride in as retirement investment advisors, not just investment advisors, is being able to come in and help you build that retirement plan, that income plan. Because we hear from people all the time, I've got an advisor. Okay, but did your advisor build a plan? Did your advisor show you taxes? Did they look at the account structures? Are they actually planning around all of the things? Or are they just a wealth manager helping you in the market?
Right, because where you take the money from in retirement is just as important as having lots of it. For instance, if you've got a Roth, that's the most powerful money you're ever going to have because Uncle Sam can't get his grubby mitts into it. And that is tax-free when you start taking that as distributions. Now, has your advisor talked to you about converting to Roth? Or do you have a 5-year time horizon? You've got a Roth component inside of your 401k. Did you entertain the idea of adding to that versus after-tax money? There's a lot of different ways that a retirement investment advisor can help you start planning properly to make sure that we're not spending every single dollar and we're sending 30 or 40% of it to Uncle Sam first before we get our cut. So imagine there's a world where there's $10,000 a month and you're paying taxes on 6 of it. That's how you tax plan properly. And guess what? The clock is ticking, right?
Yeah.
Because when you hit 73, you've got what's referred to as RMDs. And for those of you out there who don't know what that means, it's required minimum distributions. And that is when the government will start requiring you to take money out of your IRAs and 401ks because you have punted or not had any taxes on the changes of your investments up until that time. So a lot of times we have people coming in here in their early 60s and they might have a reasonable Roth, or sometimes they've got a very robust Roth. And I'm like, hey, we need to start focusing on this sucker and getting this to $1, because if you get $1 million of tax-free money, you can do a lot of damage, and I mean that in the funnest way possible, of spending money in retirement, because you don't have to worry about taking a portion of that and sending it up to the Fed.
I mean, 60 to 70 is such an important time period. If you're anyone listening and you are 58, 59, 60, 62, 61, 63, 64, if you're in that frame, you have such an amazing opportunity to set yourself up with a great income plan and a great tax plan. And what's so sad is so many people will just wait and they'll say, I'll take care of that when I retire. Here's the good news. For a lot of people, we can start helping you even before you retire. So let's say you're 59, 60 years old and you don't want to retire for another 3, 4, 5 years. We can go ahead and set that plan, get it in place, and show you all the pitfalls even before you get there. I think a lot of people think, I'll come do this when I retire. I actually just had a guy join me this morning. He was like, hey, I'm going to become a client. And he was like, but I'm not ready to retire yet. So can you help me for the next 3 years before I retire? So that's the great news. We're not only retirement advisors, we're helping people get to that place. So to use your words, the retirement red zone, if you're in that red zone, if you're in that space, this is the perfect time to get organized, get prepared, and get the knowledge to make this choice.
That's right. And we talk about planning, Kyle. We talk about the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance. And the faster and earlier you get a plan put in place, then you know how much money you need to make every year in order to get to your goal target of creating income for yourself. Or you can also put a plan in place and realize, hey, I'm already at my target. Now let's pull back the aggressiveness levels and let's get some defense in our portfolio so we do not lose that money before we convert to an income plan. It's critical. So we talk about the 5 Ps all the time. So here's what we're going to do today for those of you listening out there. I want to make sure you have a great new year and start this year off right. If you need to have a full financial plan put in place, let us do that for you at Hoffman Financial Group. We can design a plan that's a la carte, that's built specifically for your family at no cost and no obligation. Kyle, tell everybody what that plan looks like.
Yeah, with the income plan, we're going to start with your needs. So what is it you need to live every month as far as paying your bills? What do you need as far as having some fun? Then we're going to take it into things like, what are the assets and liabilities you have? Then we're going to move into things like pensions and Social Security, and we'll round it out with taxes.
We can't do an unlimited amount of these, so for the first 10 callers, we're going to put together that full financial plan together for you at no cost. Give us a call. We're happy to help today. 404-341-6767. That's 404-341-6767. Or you can hop on your computer and check us out on unleashyourmoney.com, and we're happy to help.
Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn are investment advisor representatives of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A Item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.